Let me ask, you disagree with me. You disagree with me that racism doesn't exist. I said that racism doesn't exist. And you disagree with that. Why? First
Because
of
I
all,
think it
do you
exists.
disagree with that?
I do, and I think there's plenty of evidence that racism exists. I don't think it's as bad as it was in the 1960s.
It
but I think
wasn't.
it still exists.
It didn't exist in the 1960s either.
So it never existed?
Never existed. And so, where's your proof that it exists?
Well, let me just ask you, was the Klan racist, the Ku Klux Klan, or no?
At some point, they became evil, but not racist. They were no different than Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the Democratic Party, Black Lives Matter.
But if racism is thinking that you're racist.
So, first and foremost, I agree with what Jesse is saying. And I think the reason that racism does not exist is because if you call it racism, right, which is a word that people made up, right, fairly new, hasn't been a thing for a long time. It's one of these new words. But if you go into what it actually is, or better yet, if you avoid what it actually is, in order to, separate it and make it its own thing, then the problem is you don't deal with the real issue that's behind what we call racism and a bunch of other schisms. Like, a lot of them just don't need to be made into a thing. Now, some people understand that it's good and then it's evil. There's a persistence in your ear when you, at all times, the moment your mind is idle, you're susceptible to it. It's called the devil. And it's a stillness that's always existing in every single thing. In everything is a stillness. That stillness is what we call good or God. Anything that's evil, call it evil so that the battle is against evil and not some other dressed up thing that you attack some kind of illusion when it's just evil. No need to dress it up and you. It's like being a Terminator and you going to kill some mice, and the people are dressing the mice up in different suits and putting different cages and painting it to look like a mouse, and then you kill the cage and the thing surrounding the mouse. You kill the container, but you don't kill the real problem, which is the mouse. So the mouse is still gonna breed and reproduce, and that's what racism is. It's a decoy. Hate is the issue. Let's go.
Race is superior and other races are inferior, then why wouldn't the Klan also be racist? Because that was in their ideology. The ideology is white people are superior to all other races.
And that's what racist, you believe that's racist to think that way?
To believe that a race is objectively superior to other races, yes, I do believe that's the definition of racism.
Most blacks or many blacks believe that their race is superior to whites. Are they racist?
Of course, yeah.
And so Louis Farrakhan is a racist?
Shout out to him for admitting that that's racist, because a lot of people say black people can't be racist. It's crazy.
I don't know enough about Louis Farrakhan to answer that question.
Yes,
but
you
I
do know
that
you know that he hates you.
Jesse Lee Peterson don't know enough about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to be speaking on him like that, because if you think that Farrakhan hates the Jews, then you don't know much about Farrakhan. So shout out to Jesse Lee Peterson. I love him, but he don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Jews, and he thinks that blacks are superior to Jews and whites, right?
I do. What I do know about him is that he does hate Jews. So yes, I'd call him an anti-Semite, and I'm perfectly fine in calling him that.
And would that make him a racist?
Sure, yeah. If he thinks that black people are objectively superior to Jews or whatever, sure. That means he's a racist.
He believes that they're superior to whites. So is he a racist?
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
if that's what he believes, yes.
So a person's belief is what makes them racist, in your opinion?
Yes, the belief that a race is superior and other races are inferior is the definition of racism. And by that logic, racism absolutely exists. You just gave one example right there. You think Louis Farrakhan is racist, which is weird because you said before you don't think racism exists.
I don't think Louis Farrakhan is racist. Louis Farrakhan is evil, just like Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was founded by a bunch of black lesbians.
Hey, sometimes it's cool to agree to disagree. I would never say that about Louis Farrakhan. I I don't know where Jesse is getting that from. I think he might be caught up on something old, but shout out to Jesse, man.
And black homosexuals and social justice warriors, white godless social justice warriors, and Black Lives Matter are worse than the KKK. Do you agree?
What's the body count? What's the body count? How many people have Black Lives Matter killed versus how many have the KKK killed?
By encouraging killing cops, they have caused, in my opinion, the lives of thousands of people.
Oh,
Because
thousands of people.
remember,
where
they
can I
went-
find that? Is that a study that was done by Columbia or something?
Remember when they went out chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it? Now."
I do. I remember that.
Pigs in the blanket, fry 'em
I
like
do remember
bacon.
that. Yep.
Remember the Ferguson effect? After they did all that, blacks went out and started killing. Would you put Black Lives Matter in the same category as the KKK?
No, not even close.
Do you believe that white people are racist?
No, I think it depends on the individual white person in question.
Have you ever met a white racist person?
Of course, yeah.
And what made that person racist in your mind, other than thinking he's superior? Because all fallen state people believe that they're superior to someone else. That's what the ego is all about. In
Yeah, but
that fallen state.
I don't know why you struggle with acknowledging that racism is something that exists. I know you're trying to say you're rolling it into evil. So you're saying racism is just evil. I agree that racism is evil, but
there
it is
is no
also a
racism.
useful category on its own.
No. I would
No.
battle.
Man, I wish I was on this call because I would ask him why. You know, you say you agree that it's evil, but it's also its own category. Why? And how is it beneficial for it to be his own category? That's what I would love for Jesse Lee Peterson. Hopefully he does. Jesse doesn't. I don't know if he's going to ask that. That's what I would have asked. Why? Why? How is it beneficial to us to roll it into its own category? How is that beneficial? Why? Why is this? Why do you want it to be its own category? Why?
Spiritual battle is a warfare between good and evil. You either serve good or you serve evil. And it's a spiritual thing, not a physical battle.
Yeah, but when
since you
hang
don't
somebody
believe
from
there
a
is
tree
a-
because they're a different color than you, that's racism.
They didn't hang them from the tree because they thought they were different color.
There was never a lynching.
Yes, they did it because they hated blacks, not because they were black. They had judged them for some reason. And so it had nothing to do with the color itself.
So Emmett Till wasn't hung because he was a young black boy who whistled at a white girl?
No, they did it because he whistled at a white girl, and they had judged black people, and they didn't want to miss. They didn't want to miss the race.
Would they have done that? Would they have done it if it was a white kid?
No,
Right. So
Probably not.
The race was the operative factor.
no, but because they don't hate their own race. Well, they do. They just don't realize it. But they hate the blacks because they think they're better than the blacks. It's a judgment, and it's not based on color. I got to ask you this. How do you see black people?
I don't see black people as a monolithic group. I see them as individuals like I see everybody else.
And how do you see them?
It would depend on the black person. Give me a black person, I'll tell you the answer.
Give me your impression of blacks as a whole.
I don't have one in the same way I don't have a feeling about white people as a whole.
And
There's
why
white
not?
people who are in prison and who are the scum of the earth, and there's white people who are wonderful scientists who are making the world a better place.
Why do you think that most black people are Democrats? If you notice, they supported a
Lyndon
secular,
Baines Johnson.
insane person like Barack Obama, who is anti-God, anti-white, anti-Jew, anti-everything that's good. And most blacks voted for him twice. Is that a normal state of being for a group of people to do that?
So I think it was perfectly rational and the statistics, of course, bear out what you're saying, that the overwhelming majority of black people voted for Barack Obama and voted for Democrats because there was a political realignment in the 1960s where all the openly racist people decided to join the Republican Party. And of course, the Democrats became the party of all colors, all races. And that's why they've been voting for the Democrats ever since the 1960s.
Well, why haven't they gotten better? They have only gotten worse.
Jesse is not asking the right questions. Again, why? Why? notice he said, so he may have a clue because he said openly racist. And the closeted racist people join the Democratic Party. Call me crazy. I would rather be around an open so-called racist than a closet one. Because here's the thing. You know it happened in the 1960s. You should know that Lyndon B. Johnson is the one that put that forth. You should know that some of the things that Lyndon B. Johnson has purported to say during those times. I'm going to have these niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Some of this stuff should be talked about and, not glossed over and skipped over like, oh, it was just in the 60s. And in the 60s, there was a realignment. Out of nowhere, out of the clear blue, all the open racists decided to be Republican and all the non-racists or closet racists decided to be Democrats. I don't think so. I don't think that's how it worked. He doesn't either. Nobody thinks that. Jesse is not asking the questions I would ask. Shout out to Jesse.
As a result, voted for Democrats rather than better. Hold that
I don't
thought.
agree with that. You asked me about the statistics showing black people overwhelmingly voting for Democrats.
Yes.
You obviously don't think that's a good thing.
Right.
I think there's a perfectly logical reason for that. First of all, in 1958, before the war on poverty, which was waged by Democrats, 17.3% of the country lived in poverty. And then in 1973, after the programs had taken effect, that dropped all the way to 11.1%. You have that plus the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the fact that, Lyndon Johnson famously said as he signed these pieces of legislation, we're going to lose the Democrats, the Democrats are going to lose the South for a generation, because he knew that all the white racists, that there would be a political realignment and the white racists would go to the Republican Party. So that's exactly what happened. And that's why you see the statistics overwhelming that black people vote for Democrats.
But that's not why Lyndon B. Johnson said that. Lyndon B. Johnson said that because they started to give black people free stuff. They told them that the government is going to give you welfare, but you can't have a man in the home, and in return destroying the family. And Lyndon B. Johnson said that we're going to keep these N-words on the plantation of the Democratic Party for 200 years, because he knew once the Democratic Party destroyed the family and became the daddy of black people and the so-called black leadership, the race hustlers became the thinkers for black folks, that black people were going to hell in a handbasket.
Was MLK one of those or no?
I grew up on a plantation down in Alabama.
Okay, so as most black people know, that is not false at all. That is the actual reality of what happened to black people in this country. Absolutely. There's neighborhoods upon neighborhoods where you could go to, and maybe a guy lives there, but when they do the inspections, they're not supposed to live there. They got to pretend not to live there. You can get assistance as long as the father is not in the house. That's a fact. That's a fact. An unbelievable one, but that's a fact. And it's not talked about enough. 100%. A lot of y'all know this already because y'all live in Section 8, low-income housing and all that. So you know. They'll take care of you. They'll give you stamps, food stamps. They'll give you all the cash assistance. They'll help with the rent or pay the rent. You have a free rent, but there can't be a man in the house. That's 100% true, and it was under Lyndon B. Johnson when that happened.
I was born there. I grew up there. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws, and black people were better off then than they are today because they got married. Less than 10% of black children were born out of wedlock. Black people worked for themselves. They did not rely on the government. They did not hate white people. They didn't blame white people. And most black people were Republicans up until the so-called civil rights movement started. And so once
Did you say MLK is a race hustler?
Once the civil rights movement started,
it's hard. See, this is why I stop all the videos short. These people are disingenuous. They wait until they can find a point. They just want to win an argument. It's all about a debate. This has nothing to do with the truth. It's why it's hard to watch this stuff. I'm going to cut it off here. He's stuck on MLK. He wants to. He thinks that he's getting somebody in trouble by making them say something inflammatory about MLK. Instead of listening to what Jesse said, what she should have done, because it was the absolute truth as far as the fathers in the home and the welfare. That's an absolute fact. And I know, and a lot of people like me know, and it's an absolute fact. And that's a goddamn shame. Till next time, with love and respect, I'm out. Peace.